say the walls of government engineering college Thrissur don't just hold history, they draft blueprints for the future. Welcome back to the highly anticipated premiere of Season 2 of Alumni Diaries, proudly presented to you by IEEE Student Branch of GCT. This season is all about the trajectory, how the raw energy of our campus transforms into elite corporate leadership. We are calling our season premiere Ascent, and our first guest engineered an absolute masterclass in evolution, Mr. Athul Unnikrishnan. On campus, he was a heavy hitter, serving as the secretary of Jnanartha and the joint convener of Graffiti. Since graduating, he has weaponized his chemical engineering foundation, mastered corporate strategy at the prestigious IIM Kozhikode, and today he commands operations as a senior technical service engineer at 𝚃𝙷𝙴 India. Athul, welcome back to the GCT Airwaves. It's an absolute privilege to have you kick off Season 2. Let's dive straight into your story.
Thank you, Sera. That I felt really good listening to that. I never, I don't think I could have come up with that introduction if I tried.
Thank you so much, Athul. And we have a lot of questions to you. So, looking back, what would you say was the turning point during your time at GCT? Also, what were the biggest challenges you faced while transitioning from this college life to the corporate world? And how did you overcome these struggles?
So, first off, thank you for having me here. Thank you for putting up this wonderful program together, and all the best to IEEE. And to answer your question, so moving from campus to corporate, it's maybe not a tough transition, but if you get a few things right, it's something that is very doable. But I would say the key point is that communication. I think college makes you a good technically sound engineer, but I've always felt that my communication skills or ability to, put across a point clearly so that the person sitting next to you can understand. That is the real skill, I feel, and that is something that you build going out of college. You have to, work on it, cut your teeth,
Okay,
and get it right.
okay. Oh my God. Overcoming those corporate reality checks is a really huge lesson for all of us. Now, you already had a foot in the industry door, but then you decided to take a pivot. What motivated you to pursue an MBA at IIM Kozhikode? And what was the biggest motivation that you into this much of a pivot from a BTech career into an MBA?
So that's a good question, actually. So it's technically not a pivot. A career pivot is not something
Okay,
that I was looking to accomplish with that. So I was working in a particular domain, but I wanted to, add to my skill sets with an MBA degree, but I really did not want to move away from what I was currently doing. So this program, you could say, is something in the middle where you can continue to work while pursuing your education. So I'm doing something called the EPGP, or it's called an Executive Postgraduate Program in Management. It's tailored for working professionals. You attend college on the weekends while you continue with your work on the weekdays. So while you're working, you can get that degree. What I am looking to accomplish with it is bolster my resume while you know staying in the corporate game, staying in work, staying in the industry, and in close touch with what is happening.
that is very insightful to be truthful because all of us, even the undergrad students and the graduate students, are always in a confused state of mind where we should take a pivot after our BTech degree. If it should be towards an internship, a placement, or even research on further higher studies, or a different pivotal way like an MBA. And this mindset with like a combined mindset of a business studies with a BTech looks like a very powerful combo. Now let's look at how that plays out in real time. Now there is something that we are really excited to ask you about, especially being a chemical engineering student myself. How or could you walk us through a typical day in your like in your role as an engineer at Sadchemi, India? What aspects of your work do you find most exciting and rewarding over there?
Okay, so you being a chemical engineer, okay, my turn to ask a few questions. I mean, you're familiar with what a catalyst is, right?
Uh-huh.
Sudchemi is a company that is involved in the manufacturing of catalysts, and we make catalysts for processes like manufacture of ammonia, manufacture of ethylene, propylene, and a whole host of refinery processes. And I am working as a engineer in the technical service department. So basically, my job would be to take customer requirements, tell them what product of ours is most suitable for them, prepare a technical proposal, and then help them with basically installing and starting up the catalyst. So it's very interesting in that a lot of the things you learn in the classroom, you can see it happening right in front of your eyes. Some are exactly like you imagined, some not so much. So every day you learn something new.
It really does sound like a very dynamic environment, and for us, the undergrad students, it is really something very exciting. For every single day we learn these things, we wonder so much of how it would be, like how it would to see these things work out in real life. To get to that point, let's address a major student pain point. What do you think are the core skills a chemical engineering grad or an undergrad should develop before they graduate? Like, what advice would it be that you would give to your fellow juniors over here at GCT?
Like that's a good question actually. Like I was saying in the beginning, GEC, everybody from GEC is a technically sound engineer. I mean, if you're interested, you go into the core field, you are 100% of the time going to be a very technically sound engineer. What I personally struggled with, and what I have seen people, freshers coming into my company struggle with, is basically how to communicate. Or you have something in your mind, you have a extremely sensible thought, a logical thought, or a brilliant idea in your mind, but there is I mean, it does not have much value if you cannot convince the person in front of you. How you can
Okay.
put your idea into words, and words that are enough to convince somebody in front of you, somebody who has the capability to take a decision, turn that idea into action. That I feel is a really important skill. And once you master it, there is really no stopping you.
And it would be really helpful if you could tell us of how we should be contributing every day of our life into developing these skills in our everyday lives.
So, that's the hard part. If there was a standard way of doing it, everybody would be learning it. That would,
That is so true.
it's,
I understand it.
yeah.
But then,
No, I mean, that's actually a very good question. But unfortunately, I don't have a straight answer for that. And so, from my experience, what I've learned is the more you do it, the better you get at it. So, I mean, I don't know, you are part of this organization called IEEE. There are a lot of people you are dealing with on a
yes.
daily basis. Some people might agree with what you have to say. Some people might not agree with what you have to say. There are people who you have to convince. There are some people who need not, I mean, they don't need much convincing. There are some people who are a little bit more difficult to convince. So, in your experience with IEEE, you will learn what works, what doesn't. So, it's about using the opportunities that are in front of you. Now, in college, there are a lot of things. that you can do, a lot of clubs, a lot of activities that involve teamwork, coordination. All of these things cumulatively will polish your skills. It will build you up. It will make you ready for these challenges that you might not necessarily learn from the syllabus. So my
Okay.
advice is, although I cannot tell you one, two, three what needs to be done, it's about putting yourself out there, getting exposure, interacting with people, see what is required to convince somebody, or talking how to who gets things done. It's about, getting yourself out there and actually trying it out. It's trial and error basically.
Uh, okay, thank you so much. I guess that is something we need to note down. As the saying goes, practice makes everything perfect. And there is something that left a spark to us over here. Speaking of your time on campus, you left a great legacy as a secretary of Jnanartha and joint convener of Graffiti. Although, with all these wonderful accomplishments in your life, there is something that might strike you. Like, if you could ever go back in time to your 2022 self, to your BTech undergrad self, what would the best advice you would give to yourself?
Hmm. That's a interesting question. That's a very interesting question actually. So to put it in very simple terms, I would tell myself to take every opportunity. Don't shy away, don't back out. If you see something that you can contribute to, always contribute to it. That is, in one sentence, what I would tell myself.
Okay. And I guess even we need to take it up because I like even after taking part in multiple events, we feel the intimidation to go and join into a new group of studies or research studies or other works that is going on, other project works or other programs that is going on in the campus. I guess it is a very great advice for people of our campus from your side. So
So,
thank you so much for clearing that up.
interestingly, even now, I find it very difficult to volunteer for something. Of course, it has improved over time, and conscious that it's improved by conscious effort. So it's not very easy, and you might sound, I mean, might sound like a little bit of unrealistic thing to you, but you have to start somewhere, put your hand up, and eventually it gets easier and easier.
Thank you so much for those inspiring words. It did freshen up the mood. Now, Atul, this has been an absolute masterclass. Now, finally, for a parting message, what would you like to share with the current students of GCT who are aspiring chemical engineering with thousands of doubts in their mind after choosing such a unique branch? And what do you think like they should be aware about the future of chemical engineering in this world?
So, okay, so you might be very well aware of the situation that is going on in the Middle East or West Asia, and how critical crude oil refining, gas, LPG, all of these things are in the day-to-day functioning of the country. And you might also have read about how maybe a lot of our dependence is on import. A lot of the technology that we have today in this country are imported. And there is
Yes.
a lot of effort underway to, you know, make it in India or develop in India from the grassroots technology and various, processes that are otherwise there is a foreign dependency on. And this is only going to increase the demand for chemical engineers as such, people with, you know, mindsets for innovation, somebody who is willing to think out of the box. I mean, again, this might sound like a bit of a jargon to you because, hey, what is thinking out of the box? But sometimes people who are willing to, again, like I said, try out new things, experiment new ideas, talk to people, convince people about, hey, this is going to work. I have some interesting piece of information. We can maybe I mean, somebody who is willing to take things forward, think up of new things, implement and execute all of these skills. I mean, they never really go out of fashion. This is something that was required 10 years ago. This is something I feel is required now also. And as somebody who is graduating in chemical engineering, again, being technically sound is a non-negotiable. But what will actually set you apart is your ability to think with an open mind, accept feedback, of course, bring something
Okay.
new to the table, be well versed with what is happening in the industry, not just what you learn from your curriculum, but what is happening in the industry, what is the new development. You hear a lot about green, you hear a lot about green hydrogen, you hear a lot about fuel cells. So I am mostly working in the oil and gas space, but there is a lot of other new innovations happening that as somebody who is fresh out of college or going to come out of college, we need to be aware of. I hope it's making sense. I really hope it's making
So
sense.
yes, that was very inspiring. I guess we really do need to note down all the things that you have told to us this day. And thank you so much, Ardal. Your journey from managing campus festivals to commanding corporate strategy is exactly the inspiration our students need right now. You've indeed given us pure gold today, and we can't thank you enough for giving back to the GCT community. Wish you nothing but the absolute best. Thank you so much, Atul, for joining with us this day.
Thank you, Sarah. Thank you, IEEE, for having me here. It was wonderful talking to you. Wonderful, coming back to college in some sense.
Thank you so much, Atul.
Thank you.